when people, this is brief introduction of uh, how artificial intelligence, basically deep learning, neural network, how designed. The term artificial intelligence can mean many things, but in this case, we just focus on neural network. So neural network is really a way to mimic how the animal brain works. And how people know animal brain work, we study really animal, in this case, a cat. And those actually are done by neurobiologists. And I don't remember, maybe 70 or 80s. So literally people actually put some electrodes into the cat brain, and then they record the neuron firing. For example, there's a neural activity here, the neuron, but there's nothing here. There's no activity. Here is high activity, right? So, but in this case, how does it stimulate the neuron? In this case, cat has an eye. It basically is the retina trying to look at the signal here. It turns out if it's almost done by accident when we give a vertical line. In this case, it's a completely vertical signal to the cat eye, and then some neuron will have a very high activity. So what this means, this neuron is very sensitive to vertical signals. Right? So, but there are also other neurons. So in this case, let's see, actually, oh, sorry. I, I put the wrong signal there. Okay, so in this case, the vertical one have a very high signal, high activity, extremely high. But if we tilted the signal, and then you see the signal is a bit less. If we use three, say this is very high, this is less activity, and then this is even less, and then there's no basically negative activity there. And this is horizontal. But if we really change which neuron, if we put one electrode here, and happen to be a neuron here, but if we found another neuron, maybe a different one, that this is a vertical one, and the other one may be sensitive to the horizontal one. And then if we record the activity in the horizontal neuron, and then maybe the activity will be, in that case, let me see whether I can safely erase this. If indeed that's the case, and then the horizontal one will have a very high activity, and then this will be less, and then the vertical one will be negative if we record the horizontal neuron. So basically, that's how neurobiologists found out how the animal brain works. And then we try to mimic using a computer, try to mimic how the animal brain works. And this is what we come out. So on the left, this is how we understand the animal brain works. So let's imagine this from a cat perspective. The cat want to catch the mice, and then but we have a various layer of a neuron. There's a simple neuron, more complex. This will be first layer of neuron, and then more complex the neuron cells. The first layer of neuron, they will be very sensitive to simple geometric shapes, like vertical one, horizontal one, diagonal, different angle, all those simple geometric features. But the second layer and then will react to the combination of those simple features. In this case, for example, this will be the angle up, angle right down and then a curve or maybe a different shape of curve. So this is how we think our brain work, animal brain. There's a simple layer, additional layer, and more complex layers again. And finally, we can tell, oh, this is a mice, but it's not cat, bird, or dog. So this is we think how the animal or including our own brain works. But how do we convert this into a neural network? And this actually how we convert this into the neural network. So in this case, well, this is actually the classical so-called deep learning image classification problem. So in this case, we have a very simple image, number 2. That's our input. Number 2 is our input. And then we use different layers of neural network, different layers of mimic neuron. They are basically numbers, a list of numbers. In actually, it is also called arrays of vector. And in this, actually, in mathematics, some of you may know this. This basically is a linear algebra. Sorry, or matrix or vector. We call it a vector or matrix. Matrices. So, and we have number 2, we basically so-called, we convert that image into vectors or matrices. And then each one will convert into those actually, we also call that the neurons in deep learning, but really those just some numbers. So, and finally, so those are we call that hidden layers. And then finally, there's what we call output. And we convert that into the so-called, those we call that the labels. In this case, we want to recognize those numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 into so-called label 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In this case, you see the number 2 is green, highlighted. So this image, if it is recognized correctly, will become 2. And that's a label. So those are also called classification neural network. And so this is actually on a very basic idea how deep learning neural network work. And we call that a deep. Apparently, in the early days, the neural network was using a very few layers. So now we call that a deep because there are more layers. So on the left is the animal brain. On the right is what we call neural network. Neural network. So that's the basic concept how nowadays the artificial neural network work. You may think this is very simple, but there are many different ways to change how this neural network work. And how we design different neural networks, sometimes we call that architecture of the neural network. It's just a fancy name how to design different configuration of those how the neural network model works, and that's actually a very fancy word. So yeah, okay. So and that's the basic concept of this. But now it's what I trying to do is instead of just give you a very dry concept, we're actually trying to play with something and see how this works. So we're going to use this website. It's called Playground